I promised Adam I'd probably try to keep this under 20 minutes. So, my dear bride, Teacher LeGrand, who's right over there, she and I have attended Christ Church since 2007. But for both of us, attending church at all has been a long road. So if you will indulge me just a bit, I'm going to do a little time travel and go back about 30, 40 years. I was born into a church, a Methodist church, and so we attended that until I was about 8 or 10, I guess. I had a very chaotic and sometimes volatile home environment. And so by the time I was about 8 or 10 years old, I could not reconcile what I lived at home 6.5 days of the week with what I heard on Sunday morning. And so by the time I was 14, I was done. I just thought it was a whole bunch of, all right, back to almost the present. Fast forward about 30 years. Keach and I were both in our 40s when we met. And as great good fortune would have it, we decided to get married. We built a house. We lived literally about 2 or 3 minutes from here. And once the house was complete, we got married in it. So it's always a fun thing. The retired Episcopal priest who married us, a fellow by the name of Bill Egelhoff, at the time, urged us to find a home church. That's what I said. It's right on cue. That's just perfect. But nonetheless, he's like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I did not have very high expectations. And having been born into the Methodist church, and there was a little chapel across the street, and not much else, because at the time, this is 1998, there were no neighborhoods. Wyndham was about halfway. There were no schools, there was no mall, just a lot of woods. There was this property, and the Episcopal church getting going. And so we thought, well, let's just give it a whirl and see. I didn't, like I said, have very high expectations. Well, you know where this is going. We actually kind of liked it. And so we started to attend. Now, you talk about a little tiny church, a little chapel that probably would accommodate, 75 people? And we didn't really have any experience with church life. We didn't know about pledging or about tithing or what should even be appropriate to put into the offering plate when it came by. So we had a lot of learning to do. And so one day we were out running errands, and we ran into our pastor, a fellow by the name of Bert Brooks. And Bert says, how y'all doing? And it was stewardship time. And we said, well, we've been working on this, but there's something that we're not sure about. And he says, well, what's that? So we said, this 10% tithe thing. Is that before taxes or after taxes? Well, he did just what y'all just did. He burst out laughing. He goes, I think that y'all are on your way. So we did figure out that we needed to kind of up our game when it came to our giving. And so we began the long process, and for us it was quite a few years to be able to try to... Bert liked to say that if he could get you to tithe this year, he was, for a limited time, willing to offer a special 9% tithe. So the first time we stepped foot in this building, we came over here when both churches did a musical performance. Our own Keith Can, where's Keith? What are you doing on the drums back there, man? What a wonderful ministry he has. And Elizabeth Scridner, who was our music minister at Shady Grove, they and the two choirs got together and they performed a piece called Song of Emmanuel. Do I have that right? Okay, thank you. And wow, knocked her socks off. which, we get now to enjoy, in some form every week. Thank you, Keith, and choir and others. And so once in a while, we would, every few weeks, we started to visit. And then the next time we visited, we were fortunate enough to hear Hillary West. Now, some of you new folks, may not recognize that name. She was our former associate pastor, or rector, and really liked her. And then, of course, Paul Johnson, who was our longtime rector. So we were really attracted to the message here of God's love, not God's judgment. Hopefully that might ring a bell with some people. So it's bittersweet, but we migrated across the street. Now, it's hard to change churches. If you've ever looked for a church or moved, or you call it church shopping, you have relationships at your former place, and finding a church is kind of like dating. In a lot of ways, there's a DNA that you can feel right away when you come in. And the DNA here is like nothing else we have ever experienced anywhere. A couple of years ago, I was waxing philosophical with a good old buddy of mine, and he said, I find it really interesting that you went away from church for 30 years, and yet you never stopped being a believer. Well, that had never occurred to me in that way. And when I look back over those years, I know that good shepherds and guardian angels have met me along the way. And some of them might have been you guys. So we're delighted to be here and to be here with you because we consider you guys to be our family. It's an exciting time here. The arrival of so many new young families with these lovely children, which we absolutely love. And we come to the 9 o'clock service for that reason. Plus, I can understand the sermon. Thank you. So thank you to all of you. This is why we have come to Christ Church and stayed for the last 18 years now and counting. We ain't going anywhere. And we support it with our time and our talent and our treasure. I know you guys have heard that phrase before. So, all right, I'm bringing it in for a landing. So here we go. I encourage everybody to pledge. Doesn't matter how much or how little. And even if you have given for many, many years, but you have not pledged, I want you to please at least reconsider. We are hopeful as a church to get 100% participation so that everybody feels like they have a little skin in the game. We are all each other's family members in this wonderful community. Now, so you know, if you're a little hesitant to pledge, pledges are not legal contracts. They're pinky promises. Right, Adam? You got it? And what they say is, count me in. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up with this. And I hope that you will repeat this with me. It's just a silly little saying, and it goes like this. I pledge to pledge. Will you say it with me? I pledge to pledge. Once more. I pledge to pledge. All right, and if you have not found one of these, or maybe you got this in the mail. Just a little tiny thing in the back. Yep, that's right, Shelley. That's all I got. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in church.